What was the worst intimate experience of your entire life? What was the least enjoyable intimate experience you've ever had? So there was this girl I met on OkCupid. Hipster punk chick. Liberal, friendly, type that worked on an organic farm during the week. My type. Plus she wasn't looking for a relationship, only to do the deed. Sweet. Anyway, she comes over, we smoke a bit, she's exactly as she represented on the internet. So we finally go to my bed, she showed up without a bra or pants on and a skirt, and she asks me to do a bit of eating to start off. I'm always the type to oblige this, so I do. With this type of girl you might guess that she was the kind that doesn't use a razor anywhere for the purposes of making a statement. You'd be right. But whatever, I'm not prejudiced. My only issue was that she smelled strong. Not like bad, just the way they are supposed to smell, but a lot more of it. So I indulged in tangy carpet till she finished the first time. Whoopay. Then we had intimacy. You'd think, a girl this intimacy positive and otherwise a member of this social archetype would be good at it. Nope. Starfish. Wouldn't even angle her body properly so I could get better angles. She was enjoying herself but I wasn't. Asked her to flip over so I could get her from behind. She responded that she didn't feel like it. She did however get on top, and did that crappy grinding that does nothing for the dude. She finished again, I just felt numb. I asked her if she could finish me off with her mouth, and she said yeah. I'm wondering if she could possibly mess up some gawk gawk. Well, she did. She literally just put the head in and did nothing. No head bobbing motion or anything, just kept it as you would a lollipop with less tongue. I convinced her to use her hand in conjunction with her mouth. That helped bring me marginally closer to finish. Then I told her to talk to me. She pulled her gob off and responded that she doesn't know how to talk like THT very well but that she can rap. Before I can say anything in response, she launches into a rap about giving gawk gawk and sitting on me. By the time she was done I was turned off. I told her I'd finished despite the evidence to the contrary. We shared a few more cigarettes and she left with my first 2 volumes of Y, The Last Man, because I figured she'd be into its feminist themes. Called me at work a few weeks later several times because she'd left a necklace at my house. I let her come by to get it, she gave me my comics back and said she enjoyed them, and showed me a new stick and poke tattoo that she had just gotten. She had left the car running, so we didn't have intimacy again. Never heard from her again after that. My hot stepmother has been flirting with me non-stop and she took things to the extreme yesterday. I really want to but I know it would break my father's heart. I know that calling your stepmom hot is a bit of a meme, but my stepmother is actually smoking. Slim waist, curly brunette hair and even a tongue piercing. She is 33 and very young as far as most mothers go, and there is a 14-year gap between us. My father met her when I was 13 after divorcing my substance-addicted bio mother and gaining full custody of me. They got married when I was 16. When I first met her, I didn't really like her, but I grew to appreciate her a lot over time. She is a great stepmother, and did a lot for me in my teenage years, and really acted like a mother. She made me school lunches and cared for me, but never insisted I call her mom. I still live with my parents, and ever since I turned 18 I set my mind on making a body transformation. I went from very skinny to quite lean and toned with a fair bit of muscle mass, and that is my current physique. My mother seemed very supportive of my decision to transform my body when I first started going to the gym, but I just took it as her wanting to see her stepson improve his health. Now I'm questioning if she had ulterior motives. The first instance I can truly remember of her flirting with me happened about 2 months ago. My father was working a night shift, and my stepmom and I were alone in the house. We had some wine and watched a TV show we both liked, and during it a guy was topless. I commented that he has a well-developed physique, and she responded, "Yours is much nicer." We laughed and I truly thought nothing of it. At some point throughout the show there was another scene with a bulkier guy who was topless, and I made a joke about him taking the bulk too far. Her response made me question everything. Yeah, I agree. I like it when guys are lean with muscle, like your body is perfect, and she really emphasized the perfect. I laughed at it at the time, and the next day when I told my best friend about it he made a joke about how I'm gonna smash my stepmom. I brushed it off. Well, over the next while I noticed my stepmom might actually be flirting with me. She always seems to want help in the kitchen, and takes every opportunity she can to touch my hands while I help and get close to me. Whenever it's just me and her in the house, she wears short shorts and crop tops with no socks. This is especially suspicious because she's caught me looking at feet adult films before. I've walked in on her changing accidentally, and she didn't cover herself, instead saying oops and laughing about it while continuing to change. I did not stay in the room. She's walked in on me changing once, and I was only in my undies. She proceeded to make the comment, "Whoever the girl is, she's a very lucky woman," and then winked at me before leaving. I'd be lying if I said the thought of smashing has not crossed my mind, and I'd also be lying if I said I had not rubbed one out to her on numerous occasions. Matter of fact, I hooked up with a girl off Tinder a few weeks ago, and the whole time my brain imagined I was doing it with my stepmother. It was a very weird feeling. Nonetheless, I don't think I would ever go through with it. My dad deeply loves her and it would shatter his heart if I did such a thing to him. I managed to get my mind off it for the last week, but what my stepmother did yesterday is making me want to go into her room right now and F her brains out. So once again, it was just me and her in the house and my dad was on a night shift. I was in the living room watching TV, and she came out of the shower, wearing just a towel and nothing else. She sat down on the opposite couch next to me. She told me she wanted me to help her make a new gym plan. She already goes to the gym but feels like her plan isn't good enough. Of course I agreed to help. While working on the gym plan, I saw her very much deliberately pulling the robe higher and higher on her leg, as well as exposing some of her hunker. She told me she really wants to build her quads more, and took my hand and used it to probe her quad, saying it just needs to be worked more. At some point she changed the topic onto her piercings and started telling me about them. She specifically said she loves her tongue piercing, because it can make a man go crazy. The thing that capped it off was her asking me not to make the program too hard for her because going as hard as I do would break her. I was hard as a rock through this, but I kept my composure. We did not engage in any activity, but I know she wanted to. I want to so badly too, but I know my dad would be devastated. My racist aunt has belittled my mother her entire life, and today I finally stood up to her. I'm half Korean and half white. My mom is Korean. My dad's side is white, and we only have my dad's side here in the US. For years, I watched some of my dad's side speak down to my mom because she is Korean. No outright racism, but jokes and indirect aggression. They never invite her to things, they gossip about her too. Me and my brother have always been treated like outsiders by some family members due to being half Korean. To be frank, I don't care how I'm treated. Every year, we always bite our tongues and survive the holidays because it's only 2 to 3 times a year this happens. We repeat the process and don't expect much from these family members. My mom even buys gifts every year for these family members, she gets nothing in return and never complains. My white grandma is 80 and she's the only thing anchoring us to some of these family members. 3 times today I watched my aunt raise her voice to my mom, speak to her as if she doesn't speak English and shut her down over simple questions like where should I sit? I watched my mom quietly recoil and I couldn't stand to see it again. This aunt does it the most and I finally blew up. I yelled so loud everyone stopped what they were doing. I told them enough is enough, to start treating my mom with respect and as an equal in this house. To stop speaking to my mom, who's lived in the US for 35 years, like she doesn't speak English and stop shutting her down over simple questions. I watched it happen year after year and will not allow it to happen anymore. I had a choice of words for everyone there, and I was just as nasty to them all in that one rant as they were to my mom all this time combined. I called them pathetic, losers, racists, spineless vermin, and told them they should be lucky nobody had whipped their butt yet for speaking the way they do. My aunt stomped away and was so upset she left in tears. As she was leaving, I walked up to my aunt to hand her my mom's yearly gift to her. I said, for 30 years I watched my mom give you a gift every year. I watched her speak to you as an equal with respect. I've never seen you treat her the same. She didn't say anything, but before she left, she apologized to my mom. Before I left, I apologized to everyone and explained why I was upset. Everyone was shocked at how mad I got. I felt like everyone understood why I was mad. Prior to this I spoke to some family members about how I was hurt. They never included my mom on family things or even texts about family emergencies. On the car ride home my mom expressed some words about my aunt which she never does about anyone. She's always taken the high road, it's a very Korean Christian mom approach. My mom's method of being a pacifist is very much an older immigrant approach too. It's taught me a valuable skill in life. I don't regret picking my battles and that's why I'm so appreciative of being Korean and white. After we left, she gave me a very long mom hug. She didn't say anything and asked me if I wanted my favorite Korean dish. As far as where was my dad, he was in the other room. As soon as I got loud my dad came into the room and stood guard. There wasn't much for him to say or do because he didn't hear it. I was quick to unload and my aunt immediately walked away because she was embarrassed. My white side has a keep grandma happy approach which is dumb. For years my dad would be on the verge of saying nasty things to his family and my mom would demand that he didn't.
My son has got many plastic surgeries in order to look like his idol Kanye West and it resulted in him being beaten. Ever since my son Jake was 12, he's been extremely obsessed with this rapper known as Kanye West. He had every song on his entire album discography memorized and would walk around the house singing the songs, even dropping the N-word in front of us. Nowadays, he fantasizes about becoming Kanye West. He is Caucasian, and comes from a religious Jewish household. He went to Jewish school for 8 years, used to speak very formally and properly and has since changed the way he speaks to sound more ghetto and ratchet just like black people. He has started trying to have his own rap career and releases songs on SoundCloud, which has led to an extensive amount of bullying in school. In his words, I want to get real-life inspiration for my music. I don't see bullying as a bad thing, their hate fuels me. He once got into a huge fight with a group of girls in his class for claiming Lady Gaga doesn't know anything about Polaroids, which I have since found out is something Kane has said. He also got in trouble with the school for saying one good girl is worth 1,000 beaches out loud during a school-wide assembly when a girl was giving a speech. He insisted he was going to become a college dropout to pursue the life of a real N-word. When he turned 18, he decided he was going to get plastic surgery to look like Kanye, and many times I walked in on him painting his face black and throwing up gang signs. He told us that Jewish people are the worst thing that has happened to the black community and he was no longer going to associate with us because he is ashamed to be from such a Zionist family. He moved out, and we went no contact with him for 6 months, and we plan to keep it that way. But of course, Jake had other plans. Completely out of the blue, he showed up at the family Hanukkah dinner with a distorted face from very obviously botched plastic surgery with the majority of his face tattooed with just black ink. The whole family looked at him, unable to say anything at the horror we were looking at. The first thing he said to his 97-year-old great-grandmother was, "Yo, what's up my N-word? Streets is cold but the love is warm, you heard?" While throwing up gang signs at her. She was very frightened, fell off her wheelchair, and fractured her shoulder. She yelled, "This stranger is no longer part of our family, throw him out. I never want to see his deformed face again. He acted like nothing happened and said that great-grandma is buggin'. As we escorted him out the front door, he yelled, "Man, y'all N-words is straight trippin'." A black man happened to be walking past our house and heard him say this. This angered the man, as per usual for his kind. The man ran up and proceeded to lay solid blows onto my son, and I would have intervened, only I felt that he deserved it this time. He lay there crying for a couple of hours before disappearing. I have not heard from my son since, but I have heard rumors that he have got more surgeries and got his skin all black. My son has got many plastic surgeries in order to look like his idol Kanye West, and it resulted in him being beaten. Ever since my son Jake was 12, he's been extremely obsessed with this rapper known as Kanye West. He had every song on his entire album discography memorized and would walk around the house singing the songs, even dropping the N-word in front of us. Nowadays, he fantasizes about becoming Kanye West. He is Caucasian, and comes from a religious Jewish household. He went to Jewish school for 8 years, used to speak very formally and properly, and has since changed the way he speaks to sound more ghetto and ratchet just like black people. He has started trying to have his own rap career and releases songs on SoundCloud, which has led to an extensive amount of bullying in school. In his words, "I want to get real-life inspiration for my music. I don't see bullying as a bad thing, their hate fuels me." He once got into a huge fight with a group of girls in his class for claiming Lady Gaga doesn't know anything about Polaroids, which I have since found out is something Kane has said. He also got in trouble with the school for saying one good girl is worth 1,000 beaches out loud during a school-wide assembly when a girl was giving a speech. He insisted he was going to become a college dropout to pursue the life of a real N-word. When he turned 18, he decided he was going to get plastic surgery to look like Kanye, and many times I walked in on him painting his face black and throwing up gang signs. He told us that Jewish people are the worst thing that has happened to the black community, and he was no longer going to associate with us because he is ashamed to be from such a Zionist family. He moved out, and we went no contact with him for 6 months, and we plan to keep it that way. But of course, Jake had other plans. Completely out of the blue, he showed up at the family Hanukkah dinner with a distorted face from very obviously botched plastic surgery, with the majority of his face tattooed with just black ink. The whole family looked at him, unable to say anything at the horror we were looking at. The first thing he said to his 97-year-old great-grandmother was, "Yo, what's up, my N-word? Streets is cold but the love is warm, you heard?" While throwing up gang signs at her. She was very frightened, fell off her wheelchair, and fractured her shoulder. She yelled, "This stranger is no longer part of our family, throw him out. I never want to see his deformed face again." He acted like nothing happened and said that great-grandma is buggin'. As we escorted him out the front door, he yelled, "Man, y'all N-words is straight trippin'." A black man happened to be walking past our house and heard him say this. This angered the man, as per usual for his kind. The man ran up and proceeded to lay solid blows onto my son, and I would have intervened, only I felt that he deserved it this time. He lay there crying for a couple of hours before disappearing. I have not heard from my son since, but I have heard rumors that he have got more surgeries and got his skin all black. My gay best friend is in love with me and wants a 3-way with me and my husband, and I'm seriously considering it. My gay best friend and I go way back to high school, which is about a decade and a half at this point. From the moment we met we were best friends, there was something connecting us that no one could understand. I'll admit, I fell for him very hard back then, and I spent a long time wishing he was straight. I confessed my love to him during senior year and convinced him to give a relationship a shot. Maybe being with a woman could make him realize he was not gay, maybe all he needed was some experimentation. We both tried really hard to make it work, both emotionally and sexually, but no matter how much effort we out in or outside the bedroom, it did not work. This was mostly due to him, as the intimacy was great and he treated me like a queen, but 3 months and he told me he did not feel anything for me. In his words, the intimacy was not good, it felt obliged to him, and he did not have that intimate romantic connection that he would with a man. It hurt me deeply, but I understood this. After all, there was nothing I could do that I had not already tried. We ended up breaking up after he told me this, but of course we stayed friends. There was no bad blood between us after the breakup, and we even went to the same college. I compromised the course I wanted because I wanted to be near him so bad. This ended up being a good thing, however, as in college he met a boyfriend and I met my now husband Ryan. Ryan is amazing in every aspect. I literally cannot think of one fault within him. He treats me amazing, he communicated, he surprised me with flowers, and the intimacy is great. My feelings for Ryan were not intense at the start, but as our relationship kept progressing I found myself falling deeper and deeper in love. Due to this, my best friend and I drifted for a while, and did not hang out as much as we used to. Ryan did not mind him as he was gay. After we graduated college, my best friend and I moved to separate states for work, and we stayed in touch via video chats and the occasional meetups. I would be lying if I said my hearts did not flutter when I went to meet up with him or stay over at his for one of these trips. We never did anything intimate, but simply being around him makes me feel this way. We remained like this for about 6 years, and 2 years ago he moved back to my home state. His boyfriend of 9 years had dumped him, and he was so heartbroken he decided to move back to his home state. His primary reason for moving was me. He said there was no one on earth who could comfort him the way that I did, and that he needed me there. Of course I was there for my friend, I had no reason not to be. My husband Ryan was amazing through all of this, and never saw any problem with it. Whenever I mentioned that my friend was coming over, Ryan was cool with it. Ryan started having a problem with it about 3 months ago, when my best friend booked a hotel room for me and him. I was excited to go, considering the trip included a spa and my friend promising to wine and dine me. He said that he had completely gotten over his ex, and that was largely thanks to me, and so he wanted to pay me back. I told Ryan about this, and for the first time in our relationship, he told me no. He said it was obvious that my best friend liked me. It's important to note that Ryan does not know about my best friend and I back in high school. I never told him, as I know for a fact he would flip out about it, but in my mind, this was proof that my best friend never had any sort of ill intentions. Despite Ryan telling me he wasn't comfortable with me going to the hotel, I went anyway and had a blast. I must admit I regret it, as my best friend tried to kiss me at the end of the night after we both had some wine, but I chalked it up to him being drunk and thought nothing of it. I figured it would be best not to tell Ryan. He was already frustrated with the fact I went. Thankfully, our relationship didn't take a major hit. Well, 2 weeks ago, my best friend contacted me again telling me he needs to meet up with me as he has some news. Me and him have seen each other a few times since we met up, and although Ryan has not been totally okay with it, my best friend had not made any moves, and so I thought Ryan was just being overprotective. I wanted to call him controlling at times, but I bit my tongue. So, I met up with my best friend, and he spilled the news to me. He had apparently fallen in love with me ever since he came back to our town, and feels like the biggest idiot in the world for not taking the chance to wife me up like he could have back in high school. I tried to tell him I'm flattered, but my heart belongs to my husband, and then he interrupted. He said he was not asking for a relationship. He said he was asking for my husband and I to open our intimate relationship for him. He wants a 3-way, with no strings or emotional involvement. He says he understands he has missed the window of opportunity for emotional attachment, but he hopes he can still have intimacy with me. He says he also knows my husband is bi, which caught me off guard because it's true, but it's something my husband is secretive about and nobody really knows this. At first I wanted to tell my best friend no, that my heart belongs to my husband and that he can F off, but then I thought about it. I became increasingly interested in the offer, and told my best friend to give me some time to try to bring it up to my husband. I'm going out for dinner with my husband tonight, and afterwards we're gonna have some wine. I'm gonna wait until the alcohol has hit his system to suggest it. Not gonna lie, every part of me wants to do it. I remember intimacy with my best friend, and it was amazing. I'm really hoping my husband agrees.